A 68-year-old man was sitting in my examination room last Tuesday, leaning heavily on his daughter's arm. 3 months ago, he was walking 2 miles every morning without breaking a sweat. Today, he could barely string a coherent sentence together, suffering from extreme fatigue, severe muscle aches, and a heavy brain fog that clouded his mind. His absolute deepest fear was unfolding rapidly right before his eyes. He was terrified that his daily medication was going to leave him entirely bedridden, stuck in a wheelchair, or trapped in a nursing home for the rest of his life. His regular doctor had just doubled his dose of Simvastatin during a rushed 10-minute consult, where the physician simply prescribed yet another pill without even looking up from the computer screen. He was told this aggressive dosage was the only possible way to prevent a silent heart attack from striking him down in his sleep. But here is the terrifying reality about that tiny white pill he was swallowing every single night. It was actively starving his muscle cells of a vital energy compound, creating a devastating physical and mental decline that was completely dismissed by his clinic as just normal aging. Millions of men and women over the age of 60 are waking up today feeling an unnatural weakness in their legs, struggling to remember simple details, and believing their bodies are just giving up on them. Your body is not failing you. There is a creeping threat sitting quietly in your medicine cabinet right now. You are doing exactly what you were told, trying your hardest to protect your heart, but the rigid protocol itself might be destroying your precious independence. The most shocking part is that the mechanism behind this rapid decline is completely ignored. There is a fundamental biological truth about your cholesterol after your 60th birthday that changes absolutely everything. I am Dr. Marcus Caldwell. I am an active cardiothoracic surgeon, and for over 2 decades, I have stood on the front lines of medicine. I have held beating human hearts in my own hands and witnessed firsthand the brutal aftermath of relying strictly on standardized protocols that treat patients like mere numbers on a spreadsheet. I created this space because I am utterly exhausted by a broken medical system that grants us a pathetic 7 minutes to rush through an appointment, hand over a generic prescription, and push you out the door. My mission here is simple. I want to give you the honest, unfiltered truth and the undivided attention that those rigid clinic schedules will never allow. If you're tired of being rushed out of the examination room and you're ready to finally take back control of your health, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notifications so you never miss a critical update from me. And hit the like button so this vital information can beat the algorithm and reach the millions of seniors who are silently suffering alone. You deserve to understand exactly what goes into your body so you can live your life with total dignity and independence. Let us uncover what is really happening. The truth is, the enemy here is not some sinister villain in a white coat. The doctors treating you genuinely want to help, and they're doing their best under immense pressure. The real enemy is a massive, slow-moving bureaucratic system anchored to severely outdated guidelines. These rigid medical guidelines treat human beings like identical machines coming off a factory assembly line. When it comes to cholesterol and medications like Simvastatin, the established rulebook aggressively dictates that lower is always better, regardless of whether you're 40 years old or 85 years old. The entire medical infrastructure operates on this deeply flawed, one-size-fits-all metric. It forces well-meaning doctors in those rushed 7-minute appointments to look exclusively at a single blood test result on a computer screen rather than looking at the living, breathing human being sitting right there on the exam table. They see a number that falls outside an arbitrary parameter drafted decades ago, and they instantly write a prescription. There is absolutely zero time allowed in that tiny window to discuss the complex nuances of aging biology or to pause and question if driving your cholesterol down to rock bottom is actually safe for your aging brain and your delicate muscle tissues. This outdated framework completely ignores a fundamental biological reality. As we cross our 60th birthday, our physiological needs shift dramatically. The lipid levels that might be considered a high-risk factor for a highly stressed 40-year-old executive are often the exact same compounds that protect the cognitive function, nerve health, and physical resilience of a senior. Yet, The system pushes forward blindly, heavily medicating you to satisfy a generalized chart, leaving you entirely alone to deal with the devastating collateral damage behind closed doors. I need you to hear this loud and clear right now. If you have been struggling with a sudden, unexplainable loss of energy, if your legs feel like they are made of solid lead when you simply try to walk to the kitchen, or if you are quietly terrified because your memory feels cloudy and you cannot recall familiar names like you used to, please take a deep breath. You need to let go of the guilt and the fear right this second. You did absolutely everything right. You showed up to your clinic appointments. You followed the confusing instructions. You swallowed the pills every single night because you desperately want to be healthy, you want to be there for your family, and above all, you want to maintain your precious independence. The crushing fatigue and the terrifying mental fog you are experiencing are not your fault. You're not just getting old, and your body is not randomly giving up on you. You have been caught in the crossfire of a flawed medical model that prioritizes standardized numbers over your daily quality of life. I have had patients sit in my office and weep because they genuinely believed they were developing dementia, only to discover their brain was simply reacting to a generalized protocol. The system completely failed to warn you about the severe biochemical toll these aggressive medications take on a mature body. Your fading physical strength is a direct physiological response to an outdated guideline, not a personal failing. You have every right to feel frustrated, angry, and ignored when your very real concerns are casually brushed off as just another normal symptom of aging. We're going to change that narrative together today. Once you understand the hidden biological mechanism being completely disrupted deep inside your cells, you will possess the exact knowledge you need to walk into your next appointment, not as a passive patient, but as a powerful advocate for your own health. The way this medication actually interacts with your cellular energy is absolutely fascinating, and understanding it changes the entire conversation. To truly understand why you are waking up exhausted and terrified of losing your independence, we need to look under the hood of your biology and see exactly what is happening at a microscopic level. When you swallow that Simvastatin tablet every evening, it does not just magically seek out and destroy a bad number on your laboratory report. It travels directly into your liver and aggressively shuts down a very specific chemical production line called the mevalonate pathway. The primary goal of this intervention is to stop the production of cholesterol. However, there's a dangerous misconception that cholesterol is nothing more than a toxic poison clogging your body. By the time you reach your 60s, 70s, and 80s, cholesterol becomes the crucial structural mortar holding your aging nervous system together. Your brain is a massive, hungry consumer of cholesterol. It utilizes this precise lipid to build and maintain the myelin sheath, which is the protective insulation tightly wrapping around every single nerve fiber in your head. This insulation allows lightning-fast electrical signals to travel flawlessly, so you can remember a familiar face, effortlessly recall a name, or instantly balance your body when walking down a flight of stairs. When you aggressively starve the senior brain of this raw, vital material just to satisfy an outdated numerical guideline, those delicate electrical signals begin to leak and misfire. That terrifying, heavy brain fog you're experiencing, the confusion that makes you weep in frustration, is rarely the sudden onset of dementia. It is a starved, uninsulated nervous system desperately crying out for its structural building blocks. But the devastating collateral damage of shutting down that manufacturing plant in the liver goes far beyond just cholesterol. That exact same biological assembly line is solely responsible for producing a miraculous, life-sustaining molecule called Coenzyme Q10. CoQ10 is the absolute lifeblood of your cellular energy. Every single muscle cell in your body is densely packed with microscopic engines known as mitochondria. Coenzyme Q10 is the essential spark plug that ignites the biological fuel inside those engines, creating the energy required to move, breathe, and live. When you cross the threshold of 60 years old, your body naturally begins to slow down its baseline production of CoQ10. That is a completely normal part of human biology. But when you introduce a standardized high-dose statin into a mature body, it utterly decimates whatever fragile CoQ10 reserves you have managed to hold on to. Your muscle cells are literally suffocating from the inside out. They're gasping for basic energy. When you try to stand up from a living room chair and your thighs burn with a heavy, dull, agonizing ache, that is your muscle tissue screaming because the microscopic engines are violently stalling. When your arms feel incredibly heavy just carrying a few light groceries from the car, that is not frailty. That is active, medication-induced cellular starvation happening in real time. Picture a thriving, brightly lit metropolis. Your heart, your brain, and your major skeletal muscles are the bustling downtown financial district of the city. This grand city requires a massive, continuous, uninterrupted supply of electricity just to keep the streetlights on, the trains moving, and the hospitals running. The mitochondria in your cells are the giant, industrial power plants scattered all around the city limits. Coenzyme Q10 represents the massive fleet of freight trains delivering high-grade coal to those power plants every single second of the day. As long as the trains keep arriving on schedule, the city thrives with boundless energy. Taking a heavy dose of Simvastatin without any targeted structural support is exactly like a bureaucratic mayor signing a blind decree to blow up the train tracks leading to the power plants. The facilities immediately run out of fuel. First, the lights in the distant suburbs flicker and dim. That represents the strange tingling in your toes and the minor, irritating fatigue that ruins your mornings. Then, whole residential neighborhoods go completely dark. That is the severe, crippling muscle ache in your calves and the heavy, disorienting fog descending on your brain. Your body goes into a desperate, rolling blackout. It aggressively shuts down power to your legs and your memory to conserve whatever tiny bit of energy is left just to keep your heart beating and your lungs breathing. As a cardiothoracic surgeon, I have held countless beating human hearts in my hands. The heart is the single most energy-demanding muscle in the human body, requiring a relentless, massive supply of CoQ10 to maintain its rhythm. The profound irony is that in a desperate, single-minded attempt to protect your heart by driving cholesterol to rock bottom, the standardized medical protocols are simultaneously starving the very muscle tissue of the heart and the limbs that carry you. We have hard, undeniable clinical data backing this up. Extensive research published in major clinical pharmacology and cardiovascular journals has clearly documented that statin medications can rapidly deplete coenzyme Q10 levels in the bloodstream by up to 40 to 50% within just a few short weeks of starting the prescription. Half of your primary energy source is entirely wiped out in less than a month. The researchers noted a direct, undeniable physiological correlation between this massive plunge in cellular fuel and the onset of statin-induced myopathy, which is the clinical term for the severe muscle weakness tearing away your quality of life. The bureaucratic system knows this happens. The clinical trials prove it happens. Yet, in that rushed 7-minute consultation, nobody pauses to look you in the eye and warn you about the rolling blackouts about to crash your entire nervous system. You are not failing. You are experiencing a manufactured energy crisis, an entirely predictable biological reaction when a primary energy supply chain is violently severed. But here is the most powerful piece of truth I will share with you today. Because this is a predictable biological mechanism, it can be entirely supported and managed. We can bypass those destroyed train tracks and turn the brilliant lights back on in your city. There are remarkably simple, highly effective ways to flood those power plants with the exact vital fuel they are begging for, restoring your physical strength and clearing away that mental fog, all while maintaining a productive conversation with your doctor about your cardiovascular protection. You just need to know exactly how to flip the switch. We're going to turn the lights back on in your city. I'm going to give you 4 incredibly simple, highly actionable steps you can start implementing immediately to support your biology and reverse the damage being done to your cellular energy grid. I have spent decades in operating rooms fighting to save lives, but true healing happens right here in your daily routine. Step 1 is the absolute non-negotiable foundation. You must directly replace the vital spark plugs your medication is aggressively stealing, but you cannot just buy any cheap, generic supplement off the grocery store shelf. You need ubiquinol. This is the active, pre-converted form of coenzyme Q10. When you're over 60, your liver severely struggles to convert standard CoQ10 into the active form your body can actually use. Ubiquinol bypasses that broken, aging machinery entirely. I want you to take 100 to 200 milligrams of ubiquinol every single morning, but here is the critical secret to making it work. It is entirely fat-soluble. If you take it with a dry piece of toast or just a glass of water, it passes straight through your digestive tract and ends up completely wasted. You must take it with a spoonful of high-quality extra virgin olive oil, half of an avocado, or a small handful of raw walnuts. That healthy fat acts as the biological transport vehicle, pulling the ubiquinol directly into your bloodstream and driving it straight into those starving, desperate muscle cells in your legs and your heart. Step 2 involves flushing the toxic, stagnant exhaust out of your muscle tissue. When your cellular engines stall due to medication, they leave behind metabolic waste that causes that stiff, agonizing ache when you simply try to get out of bed in the morning. We're going to clear that out with a highly targeted evening hydration routine. 2 hours before you go to sleep, drink an 8-ounce glass of warm water with a tiny pinch of high-quality sea salt and a squeeze of fresh lemon. This is not about the outdated, terrifying salt myths that the medical system pushed on your generation for decades. This specific trace mineral combination acts as a powerful electrical conductor, gently rehydrating the tight fascia surrounding your stiff muscles and flushing out the acidic buildup overnight. You will wake up feeling a profound looseness and a lightness in your joints that you probably have not felt in years. Step 3 is a completely free 60-second technique you will use to fundamentally reduce the mechanical stress on your cardiovascular system. Every single morning, before your feet even touch the floor, sit upright on the edge of your bed. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold that breath firmly in your chest for 4 seconds, and then exhale very slowly through pursed lips for 6 seconds. Repeat this exact cycle 5 times. This specific breathing rhythm physically stimulates your vagus nerve. It flips a master biological switch that instantly lowers your circulating stress hormones and naturally relaxes the inner lining of your blood vessels. You are manually reducing the heavy workload on your heart before you even start your day, sending a powerful, undeniable signal to your entire nervous system that it is safe, calm, and highly resilient. Step 4 is the most important action you will ever take to secure your long-term independence and advocate for yourself. You're going to write down a very specific question on a piece of paper, and you're going to slide it right across the desk to your doctor at your next appointment. Do not ever just stop taking your prescribed medication on your own. That is dangerous, and it leaves you vulnerable. Instead, I want you to look your physician firmly in the eye and say, given my age and the severe muscle fatigue I am experiencing, can we discuss switching to a hydrophilic statin or lowering my current dose while I introduce ubiquinol? Simvastatin is heavily lipophilic, meaning it easily crosses the blood-brain barrier and penetrates deep into your muscle tissue, which is exactly why your brain fog and fatigue are so utterly devastating. Hydrophilic alternatives do not penetrate the muscles and the brain nearly as aggressively. By bringing this up, you are forcing the clinic out of its rigid 7-minute script. You are demanding that they treat you as a unique, complex human being who values quality of life, rather than just treating you like a meaningless number on a laboratory chart. You're making it crystal clear that resting in peace sounds better than living out your 80s trapped in a state of endless suffering. The biological science behind this protocol is robust, elegant, and incredibly empowering. By actively flooding your system with ubiquinol alongside healthy fats, you are essentially airdropping emergency fuel supplies directly into the dying power plants of your city. The microscopic mitochondria in your heart and your legs can immediately fire back up. The heavy, dead feeling in your thighs begins to evaporate because the cellular starvation is finally over. By employing the vagus nerve breathing technique, you're naturally managing the very vascular pressure that these massive doses of medication were meant to artificially suppress. And by strategically changing the conversation with your physician, you are actively protecting that precious myelin sheath insulating your brain, clearing away the terrifying fog, and preserving your sharp, vibrant memory. You no longer have to sit in a sterile clinic room feeling completely powerless, nodding along as your valid fears are brushed aside. You hold the biological blueprint right now. You can protect your heart while keeping the absolute strength to walk your neighborhood, play with your grandchildren, and live completely on your own terms. But managing your cellular energy is only half the battle. If you truly want to bulletproof your body against the hidden dangers lurking in your daily routine, there's one incredibly common morning habit you are probably doing right now that is silently destroying your arterial walls. Now, before we go any further, I need to be absolutely clear with you. The information I share in these videos is strictly for general educational purposes and is meant to empower you, not to diagnose or treat you over the internet. I am a doctor, but I am not your personal physician. Never abruptly stop taking any prescribed medication, especially cardiovascular drugs like statins, or drastically change your medical routine without having a serious, face-to-face conversation with your own healthcare provider first. I want you to take this exact knowledge, write down your concerns, and use it as a powerful tool to advocate for yourself. Use this information to demand a much better, deeper, and more personalized conversation at your next clinic visit. Your health is a collaborative effort, and you must always be the most vocal and educated advocate on that medical team. I want to hear directly from you. Tell me down in the comments below, what has been your personal experience with these daily medications? Have you felt that heavy, crushing exhaustion in your legs, or that sudden, terrifying brain fog that no one else in the clinic seemed to understand or validate? Share your story. Let this growing community know they are absolutely not suffering alone. And please, I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, share this exact video with your spouse, a family member, or a close friend who is over the age of 60. You have the power to validate their silent struggle today and potentially save them from years of unnecessary physical decline. They desperately need to hear this truth just as much as you did. But your journey to completely reclaiming your independence does not end here. Remember that extremely common morning routine I mentioned just a moment ago? Millions of seniors will wake up tomorrow, step into their kitchens, and unknowingly engage in a seemingly harmless daily habit that actively hardens their arterial walls, putting them in immediate, unseen risk for a sudden cardiovascular event. You are working far too hard to protect your heart to let a simple morning mistake undo all of your incredible progress. I have recorded an urgent briefing detailing exactly what this toxic morning habit is and the remarkably simple 1-minute swap you must make tomorrow morning. That video is appearing on your screen right now. Click on it immediately, and I will see you over there to continue protecting your heart, your mind, and your absolute freedom.